As a real estate agent, sometimes you got to make a bold statement. And the other day, I told a client, I am a master at eating elephants. The seller was overwhelmed. He was going through a dark time. He was getting divorced. There was some vindictive behavior costing thousands and thousands of dollars. He was going to have no place to live. He couldn't find a rental. And he also had to get his attorney getting the ball moving forward so that they could sell the house before they lost it due to foreclosure. It's not a fun situation to be in. And as real estate agents, sometimes we've got to help them understand that these dark clouds will soon disappear. Let's stay focused on doing the right things and putting the ball in place, because no problem ever got better by letting your house go and leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity on the table. Here's a masterclass we did about it, and this one will be good.
We have a situation where we've got a seller. He's going through a tricky divorce. He's got no line of communication with the wife. She is not on title. And so Nathan did reach out to, Steve and asked, hey, can this guy sell this property? And so this guy has already done some research, and he said, hey, the previous agent, said I could sell it, no problem. And then I talked to my attorney, said I'm lucky. So the first thing that I want to do is, one, I want to show some empathy, right? Like, he's talking about his mom, and she said he could help him out. And now he's got like new credit cards opened up in his name, and he's got liens on his house, and he's got all these things. The first thing that I always want to do is I want to show empathy. And I was chatting that of like, man, hey, I'm really sorry you're going through all this. It sounds like a horrible situation. And one of the things that I've always kind of learned is that the sun will come out tomorrow, and it always feels harder when we're going through it. And what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, right? Like, encouraging them that, hey, it's going to be okay. And, at the end of the day, it may look dark now, but we are here with you and we can help. Now, one thing that I do want to do, though, is I want to distance myself from putting myself in a lane that I don't own. So he already talked about he's in connection with his attorney. What we want to do is help them just move the process along and make sure that we can help them get the right information. So when he says, I'm just kind of stuck and I got to figure this out. When he says, I want to figure this out, that's my cue and my trigger to help him figure it out and just lay out the process, right? So imagine if somebody was like, let's say I just bought the Lego Death Star. Okay, it's got like 7,000 pieces. And I'm like, man, this just seems overwhelming. I got to figure it out. And the first question that that any Lego expert would ask me is like, well, do you have the instructions? Right? Do you know what the first step is? No, I don't have that. Hey, if I could help you build a set of instructions, would that be of value to you? Yeah, that would be great, right? And so the analogy is relevant in the sense of, hey, real quick for you, you talk to the attorney, right? Rather than telling them what we're going to do for them and how we're going to help them, we need to seek to understand more information. So, hey, when you spoke to the attorney and he said, you're lucky that you didn't sell the house, what did he say was the next steps on how to sell the house? What did he say were the next steps on how to sell this house? Because maybe the attorney's already given him a little bit of an angle, or he's like, he didn't really say, he just kind of said, hey, I'm lucky. Well, listen, it sounds like, there's some concerns there with the attorney. When is your next call scheduled with him? Well, I haven't even done that yet. All right. So listen, right now you've got a couple balls up in the air. You've got to figure out where you're going to go. And you got to figure out how you're going to sell this house so you can keep them out the most. You've got to figure out how to turn this negative, dark experience into a positive. You got to rise from the ashes. You got to get some tough love. You got to figure out how to do it. And you got to have a good team around you. Sounds like you already got, good news is, sounds like you got an attorney that knows what they're doing. And you also got a real estate agent that knows what they're doing. So you're in a good position. So when is your next call with that attorney scheduled? Well, the next call is not scheduled for a couple of weeks. Listen, right now, that's going to be a process. You're going to have some conversations. You're going to have some navigating. There's probably some documentation. There may be even a court date. There's a lot of things that has to happen there. You want to get that ball rolling. And here's why I say that to you. Right now, the market, the interest rates went up. Now, the good news is interest rates just came down today. So it seems like it may not be as drastic as it was a couple of days ago, but it's going to be choppy with interest rates. And every time interest rates go up, your property value is going to go down. And if your property value goes down, that means you have less money to find the right house, the apartment, to pay the debt, to salvage this negative situation and turn it into a positive one. And so there's real live consequences for you hesitating. What you're experiencing right now is a little bit of paralysis by analysis, and it makes total sense because you're in an overwhelming situation. So let's put a game plan together on how we can move forward so you get the most amount of money to get rid of the most amount of debt, sever this thing nice and clean, and get your life back on track, because that's what you ultimately want, isn't it? Great. So let's get you on the phone with the attorney. Let's schedule that. Okay. Let's start to figure out, how are you going to be able to sell it? How much are you going to keep? Get an agreement in place. Because if you have an agreement in place, that says you can sell the house, then you can sell the house while the interest rates are while the market is still good. And then you can navigate what to do with the money afterwards. I'm going to follow up with you in a couple days just to check on, because once you have that call for the attorney, then I can follow up with you and we can discuss next steps. But you got to get on that call with the attorney to figure out exactly how are you going to get an agreement in place so that when you sell it, it doesn't end up going into a situation where the funds are tied up. I don't want to promise him that I'm going to take it all on my own. I don't want to promise him that I'm going to do all this stuff, because we don't know the answers yet. We don't know what that entails. And we most certainly aren't real estate attorneys. We most certainly don't want to be advising somebody against a legal attorney's advice, because they're not going to have trust with us. Does that make sense? So overall, anytime we're in a dark situation with somebody, anytime we're going through that, show some human emotion, right? We do not want to be perceived as somebody that only cares about when we can sell the house. And we want to be able to say, you know what, man, I'm sorry you're going through this. I really am. This sounds really, really tough. This sounds really overwhelming. What are you doing to manage the stress? What are you doing? What are you doing to keep, you having any fun? Is there anything you got going on that's really good right now that's just helping you navigate this? Right? Like, show some human emotion. Then seek to understand what the roadblocks are. What's stopping you? Okay, great. When's the next check-in with the roadblock? When's the next meeting that'll help you eliminate that problem? What do you need from me to help you get that moving forward? Is your real estate attorney awesome? Do you need another one? Do you need a different divorce attorney? What's stopping you? All right, great. Let's go ahead and schedule that. Let's get that going. Well, I don't know where I'm going to live. No problem. Right now, until you get rid of this house, where you're going to live doesn't matter. That's not next in the process. Because even if the perfect rental came up right now, do you have money to go secure it? Who would be paying the mortgage who would be living in the house? Are you living in the house now? Is she living in the house? Okay, so where because he's most likely living in the house. So we got to get that ball rolling first before we can even focus on the house. You have a lot coming at you, segment what's in your way. So rather than put all of this stuff on top of you at once, we're going to chop this all up. We're going to organize it. We're going to get it all dialed in. And then we're just going to take step by step. I'm a master at eating elephants, one bite at a time. I'm a master at building